Let's go for it!
Walmart store knocked shoppers to the ground near Grand Rapids, Michigan at 5 in the morning. Despite several people falling to the ground, shoppers charged ahead, fixated on doorbuster deals. A 13-year-old girl helping a pregnant woman get up had to be taken away by ambulance. Another woman who was injured was taken to the hospital. Her husband blamed the store for a lack of security.
Hey everybody, it's me, your buddy Dave. Welcome to the Dark Stuff. Here's the newest video. It's a little bit on my Record Store Day Black Friday pickups, and then just some other pickups that I've gotten over the last couple of weeks. No live footage, no concert reviews, no none of that stuff. It's strictly records this time, and so hopefully, you know, this is what you're tuning in for. I've been going to Record Store Day for many, many years. I don't actually need a day for Record Store Day because I go all the time, but I do participate in the whole Record Store Day thing, and I have for many, many years. But I've always avoided the Black Friday edition because of my general aversion to the whole concept of Black Friday. I think it's incredibly stupid, and I don't like to support, you know, anything like that. Just crazy consumerism, just for consumerism's sake. I mean, Black Friday is bullshit. Same with its counterpart, Cyber Monday, which is today. I'm recording this on Cyber Monday, and just to show how much of a fucking rebel I am, sarcasm, I decided I would go to a brick and mortar store and buy something on Cyber Monday because fuck you, internet, for telling me I have to shop via the internet if I don't really feel like it. I'll buy on the internet tomorrow if I feel like it. Anyways, moving on. This year's Record Store Day Black Friday was pretty lame. I mean, last year and the year before, I think I was able to get what I wanted after the fact, so I didn't even really have to bother, and there were only one or two things. And this year, I remember looking at the list and thinking there was all this stuff that looked pretty good, but when I showed up on Saturday, there just wasn't. I mean, there were some good things. I mean, I'll show you what I got in a second here, but there was no real must-haves that I felt like, wow, I've been really waiting for this to come out. So I don't know what was on the list that I missed, but I did not get up early, get in line, any of that kind of stuff. And in fact, the store's open at like 9 or 10. I didn't even show up till like noon, and I was anticipating there being no place to park in the old market part of Omaha, and it was going to be a big pain in the ass. And I get there, and there was parking all over, and there were no lines, and I guess the handful of like really crazy items that people wanted were already gone, because when I was looking through, it seemed like I saw everything that I was remotely interested in. And then in fact, I passed on a few things on Friday itself. I just went back this morning on Cyber Monday. I went back to Drastic Plastic and picked up two other things that were still there that were supposedly among the more rare items. Let's go through what I got first. I'll start with this Conor Oberst 7-inch. This is for Taquidaria and Afterthought, and this version of the song Taquidaria, the B-side, the A-side, is actually not the version on his new album Ruminations. It's a full band version as opposed to the acoustic version, so it is completely unique to this single. Comes with a lyric sheet, and it's on black vinyl. Haven't listened to that new version of it yet, but this was one of the things that I sought out to get. I mean, there weren't too many. The rest I was just going to be kind of surprised by, so I got that. Here it is, Porno for Pyros, Good God's Urge. Now, this is one that I saw it on Saturday. I decided to pass on it because even though I remember this album being pretty good, I used to be a huge Jane's Addiction fan, and then I kind of got over them when it came to when the band split in half, and Dave Navarro and Eric Avery went and did their band. I think it was called Deconstruction, and then Navarro went and joined Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then the other two guys, Stephen Perkins and Perry Farrell, did this band, and I always remembered them sounding like weak Jane's Addiction, like Jane's Addiction without a good guitar player. Like that was the main problem with Porno for Pyros. But I remember this one being better because Mike Watt plays on a couple of tracks, and so does Flea from Red Hot Chili Peppers on it. And in general, people looking back are saying this was always the better album than the debut. Now, this has never been made on vinyl, so it's technically not a reissue. It's an issue. Unfortunately, though, it was kind of expensive, and not even commenting on the quality of the pressing because I haven't listened to it yet, but I am a little disappointed with the lack of extras that comes with it. There's not even any credits whatsoever, so I don't know which tracks Mike Watt plays on and which ones Flea plays on and whatever, because there's no listing of it at all, and that's kind of why I prefer LPs, is because I want more information, you know? I don't want to just have to guess. So, I don't know, this was almost $30 and I'm a little bit disappointed. Seems like a little bit of kind of a cash grab, but who puts that past Warner Brothers Records? The next thing I got was this Prophets of Rage, which is cool. This is, of course, the rhythm section of Rage Against the Machine, along with Chuck D from Public Enemy, some guy, one of the guys from Cypress Hill, and maybe somebody else, actually not sure. It's pretty good, although they're not doing their own songs. I mean, Prophets of Rage was a Public Enemy song, Killing in the Name of was Rage Against the Machine, Shut 'Em Down was Public Enemy, and then No Sleep Till Cleveland, which is actually No Sleep Till Brooklyn, the Beastie Boys song done by these guys live. So it's really 3 live tracks, 2 studio tracks. I already had the 2 studio tracks. I got it just because I did kind of like it, and a little bit of a throwback, but not bad. Another one that I circled back, I passed on initially, but I ended up coming back and getting it, was the Ramones. This was still there Monday. They still had a couple of copies at Drastic Plastic, and I picked it up. This is limited to 10,000. Mine's number 8,998, so sort of towards the end of the lot. And again, this doesn't have much in terms of, there's no packaging, not much in terms of packaging, but you do get at least some more extended credits on the back. And now on the Ramones, the reissue of the debut album, which had the stereo mix, the mono mix, it had this concert on there digitally, or at least my version is digital. I didn't buy the vinyl of that. So this is the only time it's been made as a standalone vinyl release. I bought one other record on Record Store Day, but I didn't realize at the time it wasn't actually a Record Store Day thing. I just bought it. But this actually is Record Store Day. This is the Smart Studios story video. Now, I kind of mentioned this last year on Record Store Day because they were giving out, or on Record Store Day in the spring, because they were giving out, like, I don't know, some promotional tchotchkes or whatever. This is basically the story of Smart Studios from Madison, Wisconsin. It's Butch Vig's studio. Butch Vig, of course, came to be known as the producer of Nirvana and Smashing Pumpkins and as a member of the band Garbage. But he had a lengthy history in terms of Madison, Wisconsin music for years and years prior to that. That's what this mostly focuses on. It tells the story of Smart Studios from the early 80s up until about 1991, when Nirvana and the Smashing Pumpkins broke big and his life became very different, and the whole character of Smart Studios changed, and it became more of a destination point for like a lot of big label records and stuff like that. And they do tell that in the story. I lived in Madison for years and years and years. This mostly tells the story of before I got there. However, I did have a record label in Madison, Wisconsin, and there was one scene where they were flashing a whole bunch of Madison area singles really fast across the screen, and I spied my record label logo up there. It was one of the records was shown. So I think it was the Transformer Loot Bag record that I put out, because that was actually recorded at Smart, whereas none of the rest of my releases were actually recorded there. So if you blink, you'll miss it, but my label was briefly shown in this doc. But even though it wasn't, I mean, it's mostly the story of bands like, if you don't remember the old 80s Madison bands, and some of these had national contracts, but like Tar Babies, Killdozer, Die Kreutzen, groups like that were known at the time, that were late 80s, early 90s bands, then you probably, this would just be an interesting anecdote, but I mean, you have to really know Madison music to really appreciate this. But I did, and I liked it. The last thing I got from Record Store Day, they gave me this big Ramones bag to celebrate the 40th anniversary of the album. So it's just a brown paper sack with the Ramones logo on it. Glad to have gotten that. And then I bought this copy of the Dean Ween Group, the Diener album, because I thought this was Record Store Day. I mean, I saw it right in the front of the store, and I'm a big Ween fan. So I bought it, but later on realized that it had nothing to do with Record Store Day. It was just a new release, and I just picked it up anyways. But it's a cool collection. Again, I haven't had a chance to delve into it. Okay, other things I bought that day, new releases, but they weren't officially a part of Record Store Day. I did get the new Tribe Called Quest album. I have had a chance to listen to this. It is pretty good so far. I'm a huge Tribe fan from back in the day. I saw them live in probably 1993. The tour they did with De La Soul, and it was one of the funnest shows that I've ever been to, and really, really enjoyed it. And I was a little concerned about that the album being just like thrown together, and these guys are way past their prime, and would it be any good? But some of the tunes are pretty good, so I haven't fully absorbed it yet. As long as they did the album and they kept Phife Dawg's stuff on there, who he died earlier this year. As long as they kept him on there and didn't just erase him from the existence, it would be a solid album because his stuff is almost always great. Okay, and then I picked up this Mike Watt. This is the Ringspiel Tour 1995, and I got this on CD. I didn't know if it was made on vinyl. I couldn't find it anywhere, and I didn't want to miss it. They were selling it for like $8.99 or something, so I got it. This is a live album from Mike Watt, recorded in April of 1995. I'm sorry. May 6, 1995 in Chicago at the Cabaret Metro. This is probably either the day before or the day after I saw the same tour in Madison at the Barrymore Theater. And I have to say that as somebody who had seen Firehose a number of times, I wasn't old enough to see the Minutemen, but Firehose never played in front of this many people, and the main reason was who was in Mike Watt's band at the time. This was 1995. This was about a year after Kurt Cobain had killed himself. The Foo Fighters had not come out yet. Pearl Jam was probably one of the biggest bands in the world at the time, and his band was the Foo Fighters. Okay, Dave Grohl was playing drums, Nate, whatever his name is, was playing bass, and Pat Smear was helping out on guitar, and then Mike Watt was playing bass. Oh, I'm sorry. No. Take that back. Why would someone else play bass? Mike Watt was playing bass, Dave Grohl was playing drums, Pat Smear was on guitar, and on second guitar was Eddie Vedder. Okay, so there was a huge crowd to see that. Opening the show was Eddie Vedder and his wife doing some weird psyched out space rock kind of deal. Noise band, they wore masks to try to hide who they were, but everyone knew it was them. Then the Foo Fighters came on, and this was before the Foo Fighters record had come out, so nobody knew who they were, and nobody knew what to expect. This was the new band from the drummer of Nirvana, and nobody had any expectations of what it was going to be like because nobody had any idea that Dave Grohl had any talent beyond being an amazing drummer. So there was a reason why so many people were at this Mike Watt show. Then Watt played, it was on his Ball Hogger Tugboat tour. This is a great document of that. I forgot how many Firehose songs they actually played on this, which was great, because now Mike Watt has pretty much forgotten that he was ever in Firehose. He just, like it never ever happened, I don't know. So anyways, I would grab that Mike Watt thing, because that is very, very cool, and that was a one-time only tour where that band performed together. Watt's never had a band like that, and he's never had a crowd like that, because I've seen Mike Watt shows every year since then, and he's back to playing half-filled clubs, whereas that was like a packed theater when I saw it. That's all for Record Store Day stuff I picked up for that, but I do have some other used things I picked up. I got this Rolling Stones Made in the Shade. This is just a compilation that came out in like 74, 75 from their albums from like 1970 to 74. Nothing great, but I didn't have it. Cool cover. Decided to grab it. These next three were all sealed. I found them at half-price books at various costs. Okay, I got this one, Linda Ronstadt, Living in the USA. I don't know if it's any type of reissue. It's a cutout, clearly, and it only shows the original Asylum Records logo and catalog number, and there's no barcode anywhere. So maybe it's from back in the 70s and it was just found in a warehouse recently somewhere, but I do like to get Linda Ronstadt records. She's great. This next Linda Ronstadt record that I got is actually a repress on the Let Them Eat vinyl label, and it's Sausalito 1973, and it's a gatefold. Got Linda looking all cute in the front there. Paid $9.99 for this. Again, added to the collection. It's about 6 or so Ronstadt records that I have. And then, for some reason, this was down to $4.99. I got this, a sealed copy of Quiet Riot QR3. This is the album they made, or no, it's just called QR. What is it called? Just called Quiet Riot, self-titled. It's the album when they fired Kevin Dubrow. Okay, and they hired this guy to be the singer. And I remember when this happened, and that nobody cared. You know, it was like the biggest bomb out there. And I don't even know what the record's like. I may not open it. I may be willing to trade if somebody wants it, but I just sort of was like, I don't know, it's sealed. I can't not get it. Okay, and then last I had 2 Dave Davies solo albums. This one's called Chosen People. This is from 1983. And then just Dave Davies with the barcode on the back. And I think he's just titling it the title of the, AFL 13603, and that's why they're putting it so big on the cover, because that's probably some statement Dave was making back at that point. I can't tell you what that statement was, because I totally don't get it, but what are you going to do? And then I'm kind of losing my voice, so I'm running out of steam here. I want to just run through some newish releases that I have picked up or received from my radio show recently. And the first one is Sad 13, and this is an album called Slugger. And Sad 13 is Sadie, who is the singer of Speedy Ortiz. This is a solo record from her. And I also got with it this pack of stickers from it, and then also a little promotional poster for Sad 13. I've talked about Speedy Ortiz on the show here, or on my channel here before. I do love Speedy Ortiz. As far as differences between this and Speedy Ortiz, this sounds more like demos. There's a little bit of an electronic feel to the instrumentation, to some of the arrangements.
So sweet, the meatiest wants to know she's the last of her kin, to wear the gloss with acuity, whether faithful or frittering.
But since Sadie writes the songs for Speedy Ortiz anyways, and she has a very sort of distinct vocal style, it doesn't sound that different from Speedy Ortiz. It's lacking a little bit of the harder edge to that Speedy Ortiz has, but if you like one, I don't see how you could not like the other, basically. I got a copy of the new Metallica, right? Hardwired to Self-Destruct. Again, they sent it for my radio show. I don't play Metallica on my radio show because Metallica is played on the radio fucking nonstop. What do I need to play it for? But I'm an old school Metallica fan, and I always want to check out what they're doing. I've pretty much thought most of their stuff has sucked since the Black Album. This one is a mild improvement, I have to say. It's not bad. It still kind of sounds like a throwback to the 90s version of Metallica. When people say, oh, they went old school, they're skipping a school. They're talking middle school here. This is more like the Black Album and loaded, in my view. Maybe a little faster tempos and stuff, but basically, do not be mistaken into thinking you're getting Ride the Lightning or the first album or Master of Puppets. It is a marked improvement over what they've been doing lately, mostly because, Metallica can still write some cool riffs, and they still have musically, they're still pretty interesting sometimes, but the problem for me is James Hetfield, what he does with his voice. He used to have this great sort of barking style to his singing. He shouted, he barked, he whatever. And then at some point, he started doing all this melodic shit that just is boring. All this, I mean, I don't know, it's a bad imitation, but he'll do something and then all of a sudden they'll have this sing-songy kind of chorus and it just doesn't fit, and it's like kills the song. You know, they're rocking out and then all of a sudden they go into this slower melodic singing stuff, and it's just they do that very minimally on this one, so I guess that's an improvement. But I just go invest in like that box set of Kill 'Em All, because that's still like probably their best period ever, and they'll never top that first album as far as I'm concerned. These last three, okay, this is the new album from Bodyhead. It's a live album and it's called No Waves. Bodyhead is the group that Kim Gordon formed after Sonic Youth broke up. And Sonic Youth is one of my all-time favorite bands. I love Kim Gordon. She's one of my idols. However, Bodyhead is garbage. It's just total noise. It's nonsense. It's just being experimental just for experimental sake. And this is a live album, so it's even worse. I don't recommend getting it unless you are a Sonic Youth completist like me, and that's why I got it. Okay, this is from Hope Sandoval and the Warm Inventions. This is a decent album, kind of surprising. Hope Sandoval used to be the singer for Mazzy Star, and they had that massive 90s alternative hit, and then Fade Into You, I think is what it was called. And then you never really heard from Mazzy Star for like 20 years. They came back with a comeback album. No one kind of cared. It didn't do that much. But now Hope's got a solo album. It's actually not that bad. There's a couple of really good tracks on here. And the last thing I'm going to show you is this thing called Polyvinyl Plays Polyvinyl, which Polyvinyl Records is a label. They're celebrating their 20th anniversary as a label, which I am shocked they've been around for 20 years because they haven't had that many good records, but they have had some really good stuff. But it does have some of their newer artists covering some of their classic stuff. So you get Deerhoof covering White Reaper, you get Beat Slang covering Japan Droids, you get Mates of State covering Of Montreal, you get Rainer Maria covering Birthmark, you get Of Montreal covering Jacko Gardner, you get the Dodos covering American Football. So again, you have to kind of be pretty deep in the weeds with indie rock and know what Polyvinyl Records is, but this is a pretty good collection, and it's more for the novelty of, hey, this new band I like is covering this old band I like, and they're on the same label. You kind of have to give a crap about that to really get much out of it. And then before I lose my voice entirely, I'm going to quit, but I'm just going to tell you, I've been working hard on my top albums of 2016. I'm going through my lists, I'm scratching off stuff, I'm checking it twice, doing whatever you got to do. The next video you see me in will be my top 20 albums of 2016. Hopefully my voice will be back full speed, full effect at that point. All right, everyone, take care. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye-bye.